Hey guys, Jake here, and today I want to talk about the idea that the Forza Horizon 5 developers are lazy. This idea has been going around a lot lately because of the increased frustration since the game's launch over certain cars that were in the previous game not being available to buy in the game with in-game currency, but later being reintroduced in updates with the developers acting as if they're new content when they're really not, and requiring you to do the tedious festival playlist to get them. This practice has frustrated the fanbase of the game for a long time, and that frustration recently has exploded with the new Donut Media update for Forza Horizon 5. Not only did it not include any Donut Media related cars, those will be coming later, but 3 of the 4 cars in this update were reused from Forza Horizon 4. Just when something new and interesting is expected, they pulled the same thing they've been doing, and in fact do it worse than they were in the previous updates. Reusing content like this seems to be the exact idea of being lazy. But this actually isn't being lazy at all. So, I'm sure plenty of people watching this video work a job. And I have a question to ask you about your job. Are you lazy at your job? I'm pretty sure you just said no, or thought no. And I'm sure, the majority of people don't go into a job wanting to be lazy, expecting to be paid for it. If you go into a job, you are trying to make a living off of it. You're trying to make money. It's not that I don't disapprove of the practice. I absolutely do. I think the way they've been doing updates and recycling cars is terrible. There's a million better ways they could be doing this. And that's why this isn't about laziness, but it's actually about a horribly planned project. And to tell you why this probably isn't laziness, I'll go back to Forza Horizon 4 for a minute. Now, the game launched in late 2018, and so did the Fortune Island expansion, but the 2 years of live service for the game that were after 2018, both of those years, at the end of the years, had a major game update, a major new feature that added a lot of replayability to the game. In 2019, it was Eliminator, and in 2020, it was Super 7. Eliminator being a brand new multiplayer game mode that was extremely fun, and Super 7 being an all-new creative tool. And that creative tool, of course, would go on to expand a lot more in Forza Horizon 5. Playground previously said nothing about these big updates during the entire rest of the year, leading to the impression that they weren't really doing all that much when in fact they were doing a lot behind the scenes. So I'm pretty sure you can get where I'm going at here. Forza Horizon 5 probably has some bigger updates in the works that we aren't seeing yet. However, there's always a chance of there possibly just being no big update and Playground's supposedly not really doing much, but I highly doubt that's the case, because what else would they be doing? And of course, we'll have a second expansion still coming up, but all of this is besides another point. The more important part of this is actually less so about the actual actions at Playground and more about the words we use to describe some of these things. A lot of times when something is going on with a game that people don't like, they will get immediately branded as lazy by the community. Well, lack of new cars isn't laziness. It's a result of a horribly planned live service system. Playground Games thought that players wouldn't be too bothered by having previous cars being recycled for the festival playlist in order to add quote-unquote new content, especially for new players that had no idea that these cars were in Forza Horizon 4 or even older games. And if they assumed that the players would care and would be bothered, then it didn't matter that much to them. That isn't another problem of itself if that's the case. But laziness isn't the word to describe this problem, and planning your live service this way is a result of using the same system that was in Forza Horizon 4, but not having enough content to actually fulfill it. Forza Horizon 5 could have had another system entirely that didn't really recycle cars in the same way, and I think it would have been much better received. I think that if Forza Horizon 5, there wasn't even an update this month, there was no Donut Media update, so we didn't even have the chance to get recycled cars, people wouldn't be complaining as much. I think if the Donut Media stuff was delayed to be packaged with that Part 2 update and those recycled cars never even came in, it would be perceived better because it wouldn't be just some story and some old cars. It would be a lot of new cars and the full story. They could have literally not added these cars back, packaged it that way, and they wouldn't be called lazy. But that's kind of my point here. There can be a problem here, but it isn't lazy. It's bad planning, bad ideas, and bad managing of a live service system like the festival playlist. But why are the words important here exactly? Aren't we criticizing, the actual action and not the word itself? The problem here is that when you use the word lazy to describe something that isn't lazy, but the problem has to do with a completely different word or term or thing, that means that you can't really communicate what you actually want to developers all that well. I think the developers would be more willing to listen to people if they weren't called lazy all the time. I absolutely do think there's problems with Playground's communication model. I think it's absolutely horrible. Turn 10 does a much better job of this, and this is why my view on that studio has completely flipped. But Playground Games is very silent, which is why we don't hear about these big updates until, supposedly, the end of the year. If the game had a bit of a better roadmap as to what they were working on, and telling us that there's actually something significant in the works, then I think the player base wouldn't be as angry. When you don't know what the developers are working on, and all you're seeing is recycled content, I get calling it lazy is the first thing that a lot of people want to do. If these cars were delivered in the auto show instead, and we just got less cars per month that were actually, according to the amount of content that they could get on a regular schedule, then I don't think that these updates would be perceived so badly. It's packaging old stuff within the new stuff that makes the new stuff look worse. And if you want to know my opinion at the end of the day, I really do think these cars should just all come into the auto show. If there's no licensing problems whatsoever, I do think that they should just all be available to buy. I'm really sick of FOMO. And it's quite ironic how I praise GT Sport for not having Horizon's FOMO, but then GT7, its sequel, takes exactly what I hated about Horizon. So this isn't a video about defending everything Horizon does or that it's a perfect game or whatever, but the way people criticize it, at least right now, is very wrong. Anyways, I really wanted to say something about that. I think this general issue around Horizon 5 and just blaming the developers as lazy, it's really struck a chord with me. I'm not a fan of calling developers lazy because at the end of the day, it is their job. And if you want to call them lazy, even after all the points you've heard in this video, I want to know why. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys later.